Iglesia ni Cristo.
Good morning and welcome to INCRadio. Today's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be South Central States and Florida. So thank you all, everyone, for joining this morning. And I'm Arnie, your host. I'm actually here in Fort Worth, Texas today, where it is a very cold day. And I am joined by my friends from both, I guess we're not really coast, but from two different locations, right? So let's go ahead and say hi to our folks from Florida.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Brother Robert Pauls here in Tampa, Florida. And it is a pleasure to be here with our friends from there in South Central States because, it really today feels a little bit like we are in Texas. It is, it's a balmy 44 degrees, and tomorrow it's going to be in the 30s. So we don't know what to do with ourselves down here. But I have the pleasure, though, of reintroducing one of our beloved hosts, joining us here once again. And he's actually coming to us from way over the ocean there. Jim, how are you this morning? Welcome back.
Robert, it's good to be back. Thank you so much. And it's balmy here, certainly. But it's not too bad. It's pleasant. I'm down in Cagayan de Oro, Philippines. So it's 10:32 p.m. right now where I am. So it's a pleasure to be here with the gang from the Southwest over there in Texas.
Yeah, well, and we're happy that you're here. And since you're in the Philippines, we should have had you do our greetings in Tagalog. You remember when we used to do that? That was our favorite segment of the show. I could sit there and listen to that all day. Who else do you have there, Arnie, with you?
So, Nate, introduce yourself.
Nate here, also in studio, running the cameras, recovering from the flu.
Yeah, Nate's a little bit under the weather, so we'll see if we'll hear from him all today.
This is that time of year. That weather change is brutal. It really is.
So we want to welcome everyone today. Don't forget to participate in our chat. We're going to have a lot of questions we're going to be asking you folks. Subscribe, like, chat with us. We'll bring your comments on air. But today we're talking about generational gaps and bridges. And so we're going to talk about the different generations and how they affect us or how it is being in different parts of generations. So let's just get started. Robert, what generation are you from?
I am actually on the cusp, right? Because when we talk about generational gaps, the generations kind of spanned from at least what we're tracking. We're tracking, the baby boomers, and then of course you've got the millennials, and then the Gen Xers, et cetera. I actually am sitting on the cusp of being both a baby boomer and a Gen Xer, simply because I was born in that little window in between, right? So it's 64, 65. So I was born in that window. Yes, shock and surprise to everybody, but I am sitting there in the middle between a boomer, but I identify as a boomer, I would say.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What about you, Jim? What are you?
I am Generation X. It's around like 1969 to 1980, around in that period. Like Brother Robert said, it starts with like 1965. But yeah, I'm and I identify myself pretty solidly in the Generation X field.
That's cool. I'm also a Gen X, so there's two of us Gen X's.
Yeah.
Nate, what are you?
I guess I'm the odd man out. I'm a millennial.
Okay, so Nate's the baby here.
No, we're not holding that against you, though, Nate. Don't worry. We don't.
And we were trying to get other generations to join us, but unfortunately, they couldn't be with us this morning. So you have the old folks today, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's because those generations, they like to sleep in. So that's what's characteristic about those generations. They like to sleep in. Us boomers and millennials and Gen Xers, we get up, we get our day started, grab our avocado toast.
That's the irony, though, because we invited someone from Gen Alpha, but he had to work.
That's an outlier, Nate. That's an outlier because they should be sleeping until noon usually. Let's see.
What they say, yeah.
Then I wish I was part of that generation because I do enjoy sleeping in, but yeah, had to wake up early, especially early today. So we're not usually on at this time of the morning. Usually we're on like 30 minutes early.
I know. Well, see, and our audience is going to get a treat. You're going to get all of us for 1 hour today. Today is a 1 hour special. We talk about INCRadio Florida all the time. Our tagline is we're the fastest 30 minutes on radio. And obviously today, that's not going to be true. So we're super excited to have everybody on the show.
Very good. Okay, so before we get started, we did throw in a question of the day out there. If you want to go ahead and give us your answers, that would be great. Throughout this show, we are going to be asking questions, and so if you put your answers, we'll acknowledge that. But the question for today is, what generation are you part of, and why is it the best of the current living generation? So throw in there your generation and why you think it is the best. Robert, why do you think you're the best or your generation's the best?
Oh, we're going to need another 30 minutes for that. But I think, being a boomer and it's funny because that term boomer is actually sometimes used by certain generations as almost a derogatory term, right? I think we've all heard it before, like, oh, they're a boomer, right? Which means it's because you're old. And I just think that a lot of the values of being pre-technology, has you focusing more on being present and being there in the moment. It's just that the values of many in that baby boomer era, that was during that phase, during a very large transitional period in our country or in the world. And I think that I just really relate to a lot of that, but then again, I'm also an old man. So that's, I literally, again, and this, Jim knows this because we talk about it all the time. I'm literally the oldest one on the show again, even on this podcast. It's like every broadcast I'm on, I'm literally the oldest guy there. So.
Sorry, we're young ones here.
Yeah.
What about you, Jim? What makes Gen X a great generation?
Well, I think, part of what Brother Robert was saying with the boomer generation, and as a Gen Xer, spending a lot of my time, live helping boomers, set their clock on their VCR and things like that.
I know how to set the clock on my VCR, sir.
You are an outlier, Robert, and because you love technology. And that's, I think, Gen X, we saw the birth of so much technology in our day-to-day lives, how we work, how we communicate, and everything else. So I love it because, I'm old enough to know that there was a time when we pasted things onto pasteboards. Like as a graphic designer, I worked on a pasteboard. So when on a computer, it's like copy paste. It's like, yeah, I actually did that. And then things would fall off the pasteboard. So that as far as a bridge goes, I love being a Gen Xer because I saw the beginning of technology and I think I understand it in I can communicate with the ancestors type thing.
And by ancestors, would you be referring to me? Is that
Yes.
is that where we're going with this?
Yes, wise one.
What about you, Nate? Why are you're a millennial, right?
Yes. I
Okay.
am a
What's
millennial.
great about millennials?
I don't know. I think I'm an outlier because I actually changed my own oil. So
Wait a minute. You don't pay someone to do it?
actually, there's a hack for that. You go to the worst dealership, has the worst service department that's notorious for overcharging and finding everything wrong with your car. You go to that one. They'll tell you what's wrong with your car, and then you can go fix it yourself. So,
I'm writing it down.
I mean, I think depending on the millennial, I think the more outspoken millennials have kind of given us a really bad rap because they're on social media all the time trying to, I guess, represent who we are. That's why the avocado toast, I guess, thing became a thing. And I was like, what is that?
So I'm not a millennial, but I love avocado toast.
It's
Well,
good.
I'm gonna
but I'm
ask
like,
you.
why do you think
You're
that's
the
supposed to
sole
be?
millennial. Have you had avocado toast, Nate?
I have. At home though, I never had it like made somewhere. Apparently, that's a thing people do. But
It is a thing, and they spend so much money on avocado and bread.
But I feel like there's like a split with millennials where some of us were raised by really traditional boomers. Because a lot of my friends, they do a lot of stuff themselves with their hands and they work hard. They just don't spend all the time on social media. And then on the flip side, you got, what the media portrays us as lazy and into like weird stuff. And
yeah. We have Annalisa who's on the chat, and she says she's a millennial. She doesn't think they're the best, but she did say that they were lucky enough to experience life before the big technology age. And so she knows what it's like to entertain ourselves with and without tech. And
That's good.
Yeah, and I think that was a good thing about Gen X is because we didn't really have technology. So we were out playing with our friends, riding bikes to each other's houses. We were out when the sun was out and we had to be home when the sun came down. But there was like no sense of be home at this time. It's when the sun goes down, that's when it's time to go home.
that's kind of the same for us though, too. Also, yeah, we had that. We played outside. We rode bikes without helmets.
Yes, and knee pads and elbow pads.
I mean, that's when it started because some of our friends would wear knee pads, and you're like, "Look at this guy."
Yeah, no.
Okay, it's for safety.
Well, now, so Jim, you grew up though. Yours is going to be a little neat because you grew up on a farm, right?
Yeah.
And so growing up on a farm as a Gen Xer. And seeing that whole, like what Arnie was saying, you get to wake up in the morning and then you go out. And same thing with me. I grew up in South Philadelphia. That's where my childhood was. So literally on the streets of Philadelphia, breaking fire hydrants open in the summer. That was how I spent my summertime. What was your childhood like that was during that generational period for you?
Well, I think, Arnie, touched on the fact that, we had so much independence compared to the other kids. It was fully expected that we could, jump on our bikes, tell our parents that we'd be back sometime, tell them where we were going. Maybe we went there and maybe we didn't. But we were on our bikes and we were out there, until sunset a lot of times. And, when you're working on the farm, I would, do all my chores and then hop on my bike, ride 3 miles because I was out in the country, 3 or 4 miles to my buddy's house who was just waking up out of bed. And I would help him with his chores so he could go out and play. Right. But we had, like bikes really defined us, as far as that was our way of getting around. And we were allowed to kind of have a lot of independence, I think.
That is so cool. So I did notice on the chat, we do have people from the different generations. So we want to go ahead and start like a little quiz. And we're going to show you some images. And you all tell us what that image is, especially if you're like a Gen Xer or millennial. Well, no, because I think millennials might know some of these images. So we're going to have Robert go ahead and put some images up on our screen. And you'll have 10 seconds to let us know what it is. Just type out your answers in the chat, and we want to see how many people actually get it right. So for us millennials and not millennials, Gen X and baby boomers, I think we'll know most of these things, but we'll see if any of the Gen X folks know any of these things. So Robert, let's go ahead and have our first picture. So you got 10 seconds. Our Gen Xers, what is that?
I think that's a carburetor. No,
so many people. I mean, the thing is, though, it's sort of unfair because this has been so widely memed that I would be surprised with how much time the younger generations spend on social media if they've not actually seen this.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm going to be surprised. So what does it say in the chat there, Arnie? Do we have anybody giving a wild guess?
Well, yes, we have Renz, but he's saying it's a CD.
I mean, it is technically a disc, and it's compact.
It's a disc.
No,
Yeah, let's
But
go.
that's not a CD.
I actually remember though; these were bigger and floppier.
Yes.
Yes, because they came in 2 flavors, right? You had
Right.
you had 3.5 and 5 1/4.
Okay,
So,
Jerry Hill did say it is a 3.5 floppy. So yes, we had a
Yeah,
few
there you
of the
go.
actors
Boom, boom,
putting
boom.
in the floppy disk. Very good. All right,
All
what's our
right.
next image?
this one's going to be a little tougher, I think, personally.
Okay, let's go see what this one is. Ooh, I remember that.
This looks like some sort of a weapon in a sci-fi movie to blow up something you blow up a planet with, right?
Or maybe you can walk through it and you go into a wormhole.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You go into another dimension. Yeah,
It definitely looks like an air filter and a carburetor.
air filter.
I
Yeah,
think Nate's going to refer to cars and all this stuff.
everything's a reference. So, what? Any takers here, Arnie?
So
Do we
far,
see?
no one's given the right answer. Well, no one's
Nope.
got an answer for this one yet. So
Nobody
we'll see.
thinks it's a portal, huh? Into another dimension.
Actually, Jen. Oh, you know what's funny though? Rez just did Portal.
I've seen these in movies, so I know what it is, but I've never seen one in real life.
All
In
right,
real
so
life, huh?
we've got Teresa saying it's a projector.
There you go. That is a 35 millimeter slide projector. This is how we were entertained during our boring linguistics or English classes. You know, we would go through these slides. That's right.
Yeah,
the original, the OG
is.
PowerPoint. No animation though. Not like we have today.
And some of the pictures were black and white. All right, what is this one?
Oh,
This is another thing.
well, obviously you could read what it is. We want to know, what does it do?
Oh, what does
What's
it
it used
do?
for? Yeah.
Okay, so what does it do instead of what it is?
You can read what it is, I think, on the label if you really peek at your screen. But what's it used for?
We had fun with these when someone showed us this when we were kids.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
you're gonna have to tell us what you did.
So like we would they showed us you could take a picture and then you can trace onto this and transfer it onto the paper below it. And we were like,
Right.
that's cool. But there's much more boring uses for it.
There's an actual practical use for this. So
Oh, and Annalisa actually, well, she said it is carbon paper. Oh, and then Romalie
well, that's
said,
because she can read. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good there, Annalisa from Cocoa Beach, not to call you out.
but Romy did say it is for making copies.
That's right.
I do remember putting this on that big spindle thing, and then and it would just turn and turn and turn, and that's how it makes copies. Right?
Well, and these, if anyone here is familiar with using a typewriter, that's the way. If you had to make a carbon copy of something, then you, instead of taking it and then typing it over again, because we didn't have copy machines back then, we were still chiseling stuff out of stone. You had to use a piece of carbon paper behind the paper, and it'll actually type everything that you type. So you had 2 copies. Now, if somebody comes back and says, I needed a 3rd copy, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But this is where you get 2 copies with just one typing experience. Okay. Here's
just one thing, Robert. Annalisa said she's in Kissimmee.
Oh, she's in Kissimmee? Oh, that's right. Well, remember, I am a boomer.
Okay.
So,
all right. What's the next image? What is that?
I think that's what you cook your avocado toast in.
Avocado toast. There's no preheat. There's no preheat
like
option. When that little light turns green, it's ready.
Yep. Exactly. That's what that looks like.
When the light turns green, it's ready. And there's a hint. I mean, there's something sitting next to it that if you can see it, that should kind of give you some indication as to what this is used for.
Yeah, but if those people don't know what that thing is on the left, then they're really not going to know what it is, right?
They're gonna.
We'll definitely know what this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we have worn out things using this thing over and over and over.
That's my babysitter.
Yeah, people just sit there and watch it going. The older ones didn't have like an auto stop feature, so they would just keep going, and then what you put in there would just get totally like ruined because it'll just keep attempting to do what it's doing. Anybody have a guess?
Yes. So they put on here tape winder, VHS tape rewinder, VHS
All right.
rewinder.
Look at that. that's the Blockbuster generation that's there. So if anybody remembers Blockbuster, they had that campaign, Be Kind and Rewind. And this is the way that you, right?
And for those who are much younger, in case they don't know what a VHS is or a tape, that's the thing we used to put in a machine so that we could watch movies at home.
Yeah.
Before the disc and the what came after the disc, after the CDs?
The CDs.
Streaming.
Blu-ray.
Well, that's still a disc.
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
but that's
DVD.
before Blu-ray.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DVD.
way before that.
There was also HD DVD. You remember that?
Yes.
They lost the high definition war.
Yes.
Well, that went the way of Betamax too, right? Versus VHS. Yeah, everything's a choice.
So VHS is newer than the beta. Do we have any more?
Yeah, we do. We have one more.
One more. Okay.
Oh, we had two more, but it looks like we have one more.
Okay. So this one, what is this?
Boy.
I would like the millennials and Gen X to try to guess what this is.
And yeah, it's there's something unique about this though. So it's not just what it obviously looks like, right? Which is, what you'd want to sit there. But there's a uniqueness to this specific piece of tech. Does anybody there know what the uniqueness is to the specific piece of tech?
I don't know, but Ren said that's Wall-E.
It's Wally.
Now people are saying it is a computer, right? That's what people are
Right.
throwing out.
Yep. And that it is, but there's something unique specifically.
Is that the original Mac?
That is the very, very first Apple computer. That was before you had your little MacBook Airs and Pros and all of those different cool. This was the virtually you'd have to sit this on your lap. And use it.
Roni said that's the paperweight.
It was. I think this was the one. I didn't see it, but I think this was the one that actually had a handle on top. So that's how they marketed it as being portable. It weighed 50 pounds, but it had a handle.
That
but
was
can you imagine?
With cell phones were about the same, right? Because they were portable.
You had your mobile phone that was there. The phone was pretty small, but the 25-pound battery pack that you had to have tethered to it,
like a shoulder strap, so you can lug it around.
Nate, your child said it was a Nokia computer.
A Nokia computer.
Nokia computer.
Can you just imagine if the kids had to take this around now for school compared to the small laptops they're taking?
Well, and they've got just these tiny. I mean, in the screens were like these monochrome. It was either green or this. I think it was this like light blue color. So you just had to kind of imagine the depth of what it was that you were. But they had some pretty interesting apps back then. Like Pong. And
yes, I think that was the only game I knew. Okay, so this was meant for our Gen X people to see if they knew what this was. But now, for you baby boomers and Gen Xers, we're gonna see, do you guys speak teen? And this is the language I actually hear my nephews talking, and I'm like, what are you saying? Speak in English, right?
And you know what? For millennials, we only use it like ironically because we think it's funny, but people actually talk this way.
Okay, so for our Gen Xers and baby boomers, no, not Gen Xers. What are we again, Jim?
Yeah, we're Gen X.
Oh, we are Gen X. It's the Gen Z that's much younger.
Yeah, Gen Z.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
The Gen Zs or the Gen Alphas, right?
Or the Gen Z.
The Gen Z.
All right, let's see if any of you folks know what these words are. So go ahead and throw them out there.
All right, and it's just a smattering. So we're gonna Arnie's just gonna go through each one, and as she says it, just throw into the chat what you think it means. So
all right, so no cap. What is no cap? I don't even know what that is.
I clearly am not wearing.
It's walking around with your soda bottle uncovered. That's what that means. You're just like flopping around. There's liquid everywhere because you're running around with no cap on your.
We know that boomers, anytime they type anything online, it's in all caps.
Okay.
So
In all caps, yeah. That's a different thing.
Okay, so Ren says now we're talking. So I'm hoping he knows some of this stuff. Ren, you're going to have to let us know what are these words. Oh, okay. So Melanie said no cap means the truth. Is that right?
Yeah,
It
that's
means
right.
you're telling the truth. There
Oh,
you
so
go.
she's right. Wait, what generation's Melanie?
She is millennial.
Oh, she's
also.
a millennial too.
Yeah,
Okay.
younger millennial.
Very good. Very good. Okay, what about drip? I don't know what drip is either.
Yeah, that's
Right
what
here.
happens when you
Jim,
when
Jim,
you
what's drip?
don't know how to tighten your faucet. That's what that is.
Yeah, right.
I want to see if Jim knows any of this stuff.
I don't know drip. I was just
I tighten all of my washers, so no. There's no drip in my house.
Okay, no one's put anything for drip yet. So,
Oh,
Oh, Ren's got it.
oh, Ren's got it. What
Yeah.
did he put in there?
It's basically your outfit.
Oh, your outfit.
but stylish outfit, right? It's got to be like if you think that you're wearing something that, and style is subjective. Apparently, that's what my wife always says when I dress. But it's subjective. But stylish outfit is what's called a drip, I think.
Well, what's interesting about stylish and drip is that everything that Gen Alpha and Gen Z wears nowadays
Uh-huh.
is from previous generations.
Yeah.
It's
It's
almost like they
all
don't have their own original style.
well,
But
it's
you know
cool
what?
because it's all retro. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Retro keeps coming back.
Yeah, and that started. I think that started with us, with millennials. We started bringing back like 70s stuff in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Which is great because I just went back into my boxes and took all my old clothes out. And
And
unfortunately,
now they're in fashion.
but unfortunately, I'm also 45 pounds heavier than I was back then too. So,
Okay, what's bussin'? Is that how you say it? Is it bussin'?
Yeah,
it's when you get your driver's license revoked, and that's how you're getting around.
The bus.
So, how are you getting to school today? I'm bussing, Dad.
Okay,
bussin'.
Melanie said bussin' is very good.
yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's bussin'.
Okay, but it's not,
bussin'.
Melanie, are you giving these answers or is this coming from your child?
Probably my son.
Well,
Okay.
you know what's hilarious is that I'm guilty of having tried to use these terms around our 21-year-old daughter, and I keep saying that these are, I'm speaking like you. It's just, Dad, that is not how we speak. and forget the fact that you're not even using it right, but that's not how we speak.
What's the next one? How do you say that one?
Chiggy.
This
Chiggy.
Chiggy.
No
Okay, what
clue.
is chiggy?
Chiggy.
No idea.
Is everyone getting chiggy with it, or are we just?
I don't know, but
Is
so
it?
far no one's given us any answers for chiggy.
Yeah,
There's nothing for chiggy.
all grass and get eaten up by bugs. It's chiggy. But
Chiggy is
Those are the
Chiggy is
worst.
what I would be described as. If you were to ask my daughter, Chiggy is what I am.
Anyone got
Nobody-
chiggy?
I don't think
I'm waiting
anybody
for
knows.
Melanie's child to answer.
Is it Chiggy?
No one.
I don't think he knows.
No one's
either.
getting Chiggy with it. Okay, well,
Okay, so we don't know what it is. So Robert, what?
Chiggy means it is not stylish at all.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So
All right.
That's red coming from Gen Z.
I'm gonna walk around with a sign that just says Chiggy.
Yeah.
All right. So next one is sus. This was actually the only one that I know is sus, and I do hear people saying it all.
But it's not even slang. It's just it's like
They're
the generation
lazy.
just
They don't
decided they were
wanna-
going to
They
just
don't want
cut
to see the whole
word.
world. Exactly.
I'm just going to cut the word in half. It's
Okay. So what is
I think
sus?
every generation has done that, though. just to
That's
be fair.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Because we don't say air conditioning, we
But-
say AC.
I mean, like, Chiggy's kind of complete nonsense.
Yeah. Okay. So Annalisa said sus is suspicious. So that's right.
I don't know. I'm pretty suspicious of her. I'm not sure. That's
Sus
All right.
is a Tagalog expression for annoyed. That's what Ren said.
oh, which hopefully is not what this audience is right now. So
Okay, what about Riz? What is Riz? This one I didn't know either.
I
I didn't know what Riz is.
did you know?
but I heard it from somebody that was older, and the way they were saying it, kind of like Brother Robert said, it's like I'm not sure what that is, so I looked it up because they sounded uncomfortable saying it because they're like they just introduced it into their vocabulary. Like I think that looks Riz.
That looks
Like, oh, Riz, huh? Wow, I
sounds.
heard that. I'm not sure you have
It
either.
sounds like something that you would put on like a pretzel, like cheese riz or something, right?
Oh, okay. There. And how young is Miss Annalisa? Because she's getting all the answers. All right. So she said Riz is charisma. So I guess it is
man.
a shortcut for.
Obviously, she took a peek at my. She obviously took a peek at my list. So over there in Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay, now slaps. I don't know what that is either. What is slaps?
What? Never mind.
What you shouldn't do? What you shouldn't do?
Yeah. I feel like there's two definitions that Gen Z has for this.
I don't know, but I don't know what slaps is.
I've heard of slaps being referred to for like stickers. I've heard it called slaps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Either one they're referring to is different.
Do you remember? This was like in the 90s, maybe the slap bracelets.
Yep, I remember those.
Slap bracelets. Those things are
Yes.
dangerous. Take an eye
Oh,
out
yeah.
with that thing. Take an eye out with that thing.
Yeah.
Slap
right.
bracelets.
So I don't have anyone giving answers for slap. So Robert, you're gonna have to give us the answer for that one.
Well, and this term is typically used when, and it's most often, not typically, most often used when you're talking about food. And they say if something slaps, that means it's very good.
Oh,
So
very good. Okay.
you know this lasagna slaps.
Now, are you sure? Because Annalisa said it's referring to music. Very good music.
No, she's wrong. She's wrong.
I think that's right. too.
She's dead wrong.
I think for boomers,
Absolutely not right
slaps
now.
is I think for boomers, slaps is something they do when they go to the garden section and they see a bag of mulch.
Isn't that what football players do when they're out on the field too? You know, hey, good play there. So, no, the term is used generally to describe something. So this
Very
way
good.
we can. That's very good. So it slaps if it's very.
Okay.
Like our show today. Our show today just slaps. I'm telling you. It's
Okay, what's Stan?
the name of my seventh grade best friend.
Stan, I've never heard that one either.
Best friend in seventh grade.
This is I think K-pop culture.
Oh, okay. So I don't listen to
Yeah,
K-pop.
started this. This would probably be Gen Alpha. No,
This is-
Gen Z.
You think it's a Z? Yeah. Well, Gen Z.
I don't know, but no one's
Z
giving me an
Alpha,
answer
yeah.
for what Stan is. I mean, yeah, what Stan is. So I don't know what that is.
Well, technically it is describing to be a fan of or liking something a lot.
Oh, super fan.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you
Me-
like something
yeah.
a lot, then you are a stan, because apparently it's got some reference to some rap song that made reference to it. So
Ooh, so Jennifer from Long Beach said it's stalker level fan.
yeah, that's
Okay, that kind of fan. Okay,
that can
owned.
also be put there.
What is owned?
You know, my generation spelled owned with a P. P-W-N.
P
It was a
W.
video.
PWN?
Yeah, it was
Or POW?
PWN.
PWN.
It was
Pond?
PWN. Yes, pond. But it was pronounced owned.
Oh,
So-
But is it for the same meaning? I think.
Yeah, it was, but it was for in the context of video games. You would
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
And I think it was there was like a thing with millennials where we misspelled things because we thought it was cool.
yes, I noticed that.
Because you guys didn't want the baby boomers to figure out what you were saying, so we're just going to spell it all differently.
Well, the O and the P on the keyboard are next to each other, so it's like you made that mistake and you said own, but you used the P instead.
And
Okay,
you've done
so
it enough, so you've just made it normalized. So
yeah.
That's the thing, yeah.
So Annalisa said owned is you got served, and Ren said is you got beat badly in a game. So you got owned.
yeah, you got
Okay.
if you got owned, it means you were defeated. Yes.
All right.
That's right.
What about basic?
Oh, that's
Basic
me.
to me, that's
Yeah.
just basic. It's like
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
I'm hoping is that what basic means?
But you know what? But I think it mostly refers to I've heard it used when people are talking about like clothing
Uh-huh.
or fashion. Like you're pretty basic in the way you dress. Because obviously I'm also considered chiggy, but this I don't know which
So-
is worse.
So they said basic is average. So I guess
Average.
that's yeah.
It's meh, right?
Okay.
That's what they say.
And then dead, I think you spelled dead wrong here because it's supposed to be DED, not DEAD. But what is dead?
Well, I guess
that's what they said. They said it's DED. It's not DEAD.
Why are you hesitant?
if you're a Gen Xer who misspells things, maybe, but it's proper
Gen Z
grammar.
said this is DED. What is dead?
Dead means it's usually used like if something is like really funny or embarrassing. You hear them, you see it sometimes on social media. They say, "Oh," and all you hear them say is, "I'm dead." Yeah. And when you say "I'm dead," it usually means that, "Oh, that was just too funny. I'm dead. I'm dying of laughing, or I'm dying of embarrassment." Right? So I'm dead. And for all of you misspelling Gen Xers out there, it is spelled DEAD.
Okay, what's our last one? Flex. What is flex?
I thought Gen X spelled things correctly.
Yeah, we did spell.
Accusing Gen X of misspelling.
No, Gen X spelled it correctly. It's Gen Z that doesn't spell.
And millennials.
Okay, so dead they said is old. Is that what it is?
Flex means old?
No,
Was
dead.
that a boomer?
No, it means when you laugh so hard.
This is a boomer.
Dead is overwhelmed because laughing too much. I get it. I see it.
Yeah, if you're laughing too much, if you're laughing too hard, it's just I'm dead. It's an easier way to say it. I'm just dead.
Okay.
But if you're flexing though, if you have flex, what is that?
So we're getting here. People are saying to show off. Naya said to show off. Ren said to impress. Annalisa said it's to boast. So
Boast.
I guess it's showing off.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm flexing how good our show is today. That's what I'm doing because I'm far from basic.
Awesome.
No cap, right? Because all of us, we got some riz. We've all got some riz on the show.
The show slaps.
I can see our kids are right now like, oh,
They're going to tell us.
Yeah, they're dead right now.
They're going to ask why we're giving they're sharing their secrets. Now we're going to know what they're talking about.
They're all like, please just stop. I'm waiting for somebody to run through the studio. Just stop.
They're generating new words
My
now
nephews.
to keep us confused.
Well, good job, everybody.
Okay, so yeah, great job. Annalisa was answering a lot of questions, and so they're asking, is she going to get a mug? I don't know if Florida knows, but we have a mug that we give out before for prizes.
I like your mug. I'll trade you your mug.
Let me see yours.
Ours.
Oh yeah, no, ours is.
Our mug is basic. it's a basic mug, but
So maybe she wants your mug. I don't know. She was.
It's just she's we and on the other side though we have two sides to our mug. So your mug can also say I'm a fan of INCRadio Florida, but we don't have a Texas microphone on ours. So
ours. So now what we normally do with South Central states is we have what we call our thinking caps, and those we have 3 questions per episode, and then we also have a running total. So whoever wins at the end of the month, they get our mug. And so let's go ahead.
Can I play?
Robert.
Do I get to play?
Sure.
Can I get the cowboy hat microphone mug?
Drop it in the chat.
Yeah, you got to drop it in the chat. And don't forget, only drop in the letters A, B, C, or D, or whatever letter we put up there. But Robert, go ahead and put in our first.
Are we ready?
Our first thinking cap question.
First thinking cap. Here we go.
First thinking cap question is, which state and state nickname is incorrect? Is it Georgia, A, the Peach State, B, Oklahoma, the Schooner State, C, South Carolina, the Swamp State, or D, Mississippi, the Magnolia State? So which is incorrect? Only throw in A, B, C, or D. Throw in the answers there. And then what we'll do is at the end of the month, whoever gets the most correct wins our pretty month. Now, if you want more,
we've got to play for the whole month.
Yeah, you got to play for the whole month. That means you got to tune in every Saturday. All you got to do is stick around after your show.
Okay. I'm going. Here we go. I'm going to do my best Gen Z impersonation. That's so much work.
All right, we see the answers coming in.
Yeah, answers
you called
coming in.
it the Schooner State. It says Sooner.
I know, but is it the Sooner State?
Is it the Sooner State?
I don't know.
We're going to know sooner or later, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah, throw in your answers. Let us know.
Jim?
What can I say?
No, we're not giving answers. We don't give it till the end of the show. That way people will have it.
I noticed that the font is kind of like cursive-ish. So who here knows how to write in cursive?
I do.
I do too.
Boomers do. Boomers know how to write in cursive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they stopped after millennials because we learned in 4th grade, and then I think in 5th grade we had to take typing class. I think the generation.
Well, I took typing class.
No, I think the newer generations don't take a typing class because I'm watching my son and he's not doing the 4-finger thing. He's like doing this thing.
Yeah, my nephew too. He does the 2 fingers.
I actually think like boomers and Gen Z have that in common. They type like this.
Oh, that is just
it's like trying to text, right? When you're trying to text, you're trying to write an entire message using like your thumbs, right? And trying to fly through them. If you've ever watched like a Gen Zer or even a Gen Alpha text on their phones, they're typing with 2 fingers as fast as I used to type with all 10.
Yeah. And you know what's funny though, because when you're talking about cursive, my nephew did ask me, he goes, Auntie, can you teach me how to write in cursive? I'm like, what do you mean? I go, you're already in 6th grade. What do you mean you need to learn how to write in cursive? They were never taught in school how to write in cursive.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but they don't teach them to type either, like the proper way to type.
But have you ever asked why cursive? Why is that important?
I think it looks prettier than print.
I think it's probably I think that goes before all of us, back when you were going to be a journalist and you had to
in calligraphy. Well, for me, cursive was always the better option because my handwriting is so horrid that I would just use the excuse that, well, it's in cursive. Of course, you're not supposed to be able to read it.
Yeah.
But I think when you do it in cursive, it's faster than printing it out individually.
Writing each letter.
It is.
I just find it more fun.
I just think it's prettier.
Well, Jim's in graphic design, right? So, I mean, in graphic design, is cursive like a preferred by your clients? Is it a preferred font, or do they kind of shy away from that?
Yeah. I mean, graphically, it's hard to read, but like Arnie was saying, if you're taking notes, like I still take notes in cursive. I write, I still pen and paper type thing. Whereas I may see my millennial sidekick, keying everything in or typing everything in, faster than I could ever type in. So cursive is fast.
And even when I do correspondence, I like to correspond in cursive because I think it's prettier.
Yeah.
The total sidebar here, 2 seconds. If you have an iPad and you write using the Notepad feature, the new release of their operating system has an autocorrect for handwriting. It's the greatest thing ever, because when you're writing, it's literally telling me how bad my handwriting is, because then it doesn't like convert it to text. It's not like reading it and trying to turn it into like what do they call it? It's not OCR. It's not character recognition. It's literally trying to keep your handwriting, but just cleaning it up for you. It's
how embarrassing, like if I'm writing stuff to my wife, like grocery list, right? If you put something like I need this, and then they make fun of it because you spelled something wrong, right?
Now corrects it for you.
What is this?
See, that's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Robert, let's go to our second thinking cap question.
All right, thinking cap question.
So this time it's no longer A, B, C, or D. Okay, now the answers are going to be E, F, G, and H. So the city of Memphis, which is in Tennessee, Texas, Florida, and several other states, is actually named after which city? Is it Memphis, Greece? F, Memphis, Egypt? G, Madrid, Spain? Or H, Memphis, Syria? So all the different Memphises we've got in the states, who or what is it?
How is Madrid, Memphis? I was going to ask that question.
We got to give some easy answers for process of elimination.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's for those Gen Alphas.
This is for the prize.
And the Gen Zers.
Madrid is Spanish for Memphis.
Oh, is it?
Is it really? No, don't play with the boomer. Okay, don't. I do know how to Google, so.
So throw in your answers and let us know what you think the answer is for that. But let me just ask you this, especially when it comes to education or work values. How do you think it's different from each generation?
I think if you ask, like, because that's constantly the thing, and again, I think a lot of this is media that drives it, but it's this conception. I don't want to say misconception because I don't know the truth, but a lot of boomers will say that they were a harder working generation, right, and that they had their values in terms of work were different, and the focus and the emphasis was much more on just staying productive and staying in the same job for 50 years and collecting your retirement. And I think they view the later generations as much. There's a lot more mobility in their careers, where moving, taking opportunities, moving on to bigger and better things. Where I'll be working at the automotive plant for the next 35 years until I get my pension. So I think that's kind of the compass that is being drawn.
And I think millennials, we watched our parents who are boomers, right? They had that mentality, like, company loyalty, work real hard, and this and that. And then we got to see in the financial crisis, like, what happened. And then we had to deal with the financial crisis because we were graduating college when that happened. And so, like, I think that really shaped our mindset on how we view work, because it's like, why am I going to have company loyalty? I can work for years and years and years, just like my dad did, and then they can just lay him off, or his job can just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I want to invest, myself in a company, but I can't put all my eggs into that basket because there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
So millennials were kind of dealing with that reality, and I think that really shaped how we view work.
And I think for me, I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I try to be loyal to my company, but then I do see, like, hey, there are other opportunities that might actually be better for you. And so I'm kind of torn between the two.
I mean, taking a balanced approach is probably the best anyway.
What about you, Jim?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of my son, my oldest son, he got out. It seemed like the millennials had so many tough breaks. First they had to spend a fortune on education, like the boomers, like the avocado toast joke. His response is, yeah, well, I couldn't buy a new car for $5,000. Well, it's there's a lot more challenges for millennials. And then, like Nate said, the financial crisis. So, he gets out of school, and it's the financial crisis. And so he's well educated, but there's no jobs. So he really has to go out. But, the way the generations work, to me, is the most interesting, because I deal with that because I have the pleasure of working with a lot of younger people. And, you see the differences where boomers typically, they'll write things out. They'll put out a plan, and this is long detailed. And Gen Xers, I don't know if you're the same way, Arnie, but I'd rather just do a PowerPoint, right? And let's not talk about it too much. Give me a day to gather my thoughts, and I'll put it in a PowerPoint and send it to you. But the millennials they do like to work together. They're very socially oriented. Like, they want to get together. They want to have a team. Then they're going to go to lunch together, and it's like a very. But then the beginnings, I'm starting to see that Gen Z, and they're like the coders, man. They just like want to leave me in a closet somewhere, and I will just work. I'll get my power drink, and I'll get everything done, and then I'll talk to you. So I think there's that whole work environment. It's interesting to try to manage people from different generations.
And I do agree with you. I think that's true, because at work, the younger was, like you said, they always like, yeah, let's work together. And I'm like, no, I could get this done on my own. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't need to interact with you, honestly. I'm going to just do this on my own, and I'll let you know how it works out.
I don't need to collaborate. I'm good.
I think that's more universal, though. Like, people either like group projects or they don't.
Yeah.
Because I I don't.
Yeah, see?
You're not the millennial who likes group project.
No. So before we run out of time, let's go to our last thinking cap, just so that we can get people
The
to
final
answer
thinking
and
cap
get them-
question.
yes, and get them their prizes. So the final thinking cap question is, which U.S. state has the longest coastline? Is it I, California, J, Texas, K, Florida, or L, Alaska? So, which U.S. state has the longest coastline? I, California, J, Texas, K, Florida, L, Alaska. Put your answers in there. And we only take the first answer. So even though someone guesses it right, like the previous answer, I guess Brother Oliver answered it all correctly, and everyone's trying to change their answer to what he did. And
we can track your editing, everyone. We can track your editing in the chat.
And he kind of said why that was the answer. And so now they're like, Matt goes, oh, wait, I trust him. Let me change my answer.
What's going to happen is we're going to start getting private messages like on our phones. Like, I really meant to say.
Hey, I have nothing to do with the thinking caps. This is all Nate. He has some kind of formula that he figures out. So it's on him.
I feel sorry for the boomers, though, because maybe their maps weren't updated.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, wait a minute.
Their map ends after the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
Hey, but at least I know how to fold a map. Okay.
That's true.
You actually do? I've never been able to.
I do. And you know where that skill came in handy? Because a lot of people say, well, what's the big deal about knowing how to fold a map? That also means that I know how to fold the sunshades in my car.
We all.
Have you tried? No, because I've seen I've gotten smacked in the face when my daughter was trying to fold the sunshade in the car and it just popped back open again. So that's a diminishing skill if you don't practice it. So
that's the first thing I do when I get in my wife's car. I pick up the unfolded sunshield and fold it for her. So
yeah, exactly. It's like I'll get it. I got it.
That's funny. What about when we talk about media when it comes to generations? What are how much do we consume media in different generations? Because I know with my views, when they were doing online schooling during COVID, my nephew would be on his phone while he was attending his virtual class. And I'm like, put your phone down. He goes, no, I'm good. I'm listening too. But he could literally be on his phone 24/7, but yet understand. Where you have people who can't.
I think that's probably one of the telltale signs of this younger generation is their ability to multitask. Mm-hmm. Because they are so accustomed to consuming mass amounts of information. Because that, for us boomers, well, I guess for me, since I'm the only one here, but we're very singular focused. We would use the encyclopedia to find our information. We would, have to look stuff up that way. And it's all pretty singular. Where today you have all of this media that you consume to get your information. Not only is it more immediately available to you, it's available in so many different platforms. So they can do that. I find them now, whether or not it makes them better multitaskers, I don't know, because I don't know, does that just mean that they have less focus and they're attention deficient because they can't just be singularly focused on one thing and they have a shorter attention span? I mean, those are all things that I think could be considered as well. But I think media has definitely contributed to them being able to do like what you're describing, Arnie, like two things, at the same time.
Jim, for Gen Xers, how much media do you consume?
Oh, well, growing up, we didn't have a lot of choices. And I lived out in the country. So if I was even able to go, somebody had cable. I wanted my MTV, right? That was the hip thing. Right. But to me, it's amazing. Not only is the media, there's so much of it, you have all these different choices, but it's also very specialized. You can be really into a certain thing, and there is a lot of content for a certain thing. Like if you're, into the glass making, suddenly you could find 1,000 different posts on social media about glass making and things like that. So, this generation's consumption of media, and then the media itself is specialized is always, I'm amazed because they can really kind of become experts on something. Like my son can get into the planets, and within a few days, he's telling me all this information because it's there. It's easy to find. It's in the, it's in the tube cycle. It's going to come up as the next one. So it's great.
What about Nate, millennial?
Well, I'm going to go on a little rant. I think millennials ruin movies. So I'm a bit of a movie buff. And like when you look at movies that boomers and Gen X were patronizing, like in the 90s, like some of the most original stories, original ways to tell stories, like some of the greatest movies were in that time. And then afterwards, what do you see? You see a bunch of, comic book films. You see a bunch of
sequels, remakes, yeah,
all of that. And I feel like it ruined, putting out original stories, and it ruined the media because, we wanted to see these things and we came out in mass numbers to watch it. I didn't. When I was going through like high school and college, like I loved, all the stuff that, the boomers and Gen X created and were into. So yeah, that's kind of my rant on media.
80s movies are still some of the classics. And what's funny is you see a lot of Gen Zers who gravitate towards that stuff. And I think it's like what you mentioned before about fashion, right? It's kind of coming back. So I'm making references around my daughter and her friends, and we're talking about movies from the 80s, and like, oh yeah, I saw that. And then, because you would think like it wouldn't be of interest to them. But apparently there's an attraction to it. It's that whole retro thing again. They want to live life as a boomer millennial.
Now, if only they would watch a movie without also being on their phone.
That's so true.
Oh,
I'm amazed by that.
It's the multitasking thing. They're still able to do it.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter like what generations we're from, right? Because each generation played a role in some way to mold us or to help us in the generation we are in now. And so I think one thing that's just really important is that we understand each other's generations. And for the younger ones, have patience with the baby boomers who don't know how to use a cell phone or who don't know how to download an app.
Have patience with me.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a pushback where instead of like generations being at odds with each other and thinking that they shouldn't get along. I mean, for one, if boomers are complaining about millennials and the younger generations, well, you raised us, so we came out exactly how you raised us. So the only one to blame is yourself, really.
I was about to say, oh wait, are you saying I caused this?
But as long as moving forward, there's like this understanding, like, hey, like respect your elders, and at the same time, the elders have a responsibility, teaching the younger generations. Then we would probably get along a lot better.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what generation we come from. We all got to live all together. So
yeah, we all got to live on the same planet. And this is going to be for a future show in about 10 years. We're going to be talking about the impact and the generational shift that's happened post COVID, right? Because of what's happened with remote work and people not having to be in offices and stuff, and how that's changed, because that's these significant milestones in time are what sort of craft these generations for us. So we'll do this show. Join us again in about 10 years.
I think we need to have another collaboration, but I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. Thank you to our folks there in Florida district, and then also from here, South Central States. Being able to chat with you all for an hour has been so much fun. But before our time is up, we do want to give our final shout outs. First of all, we'd like to say thank you to our INC radio station manager, Brother Wally Taray, our CFO coordinator and SEBSI president, Brother Angelo Manalo, and of course, our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Thank you all. And we will all see you next week. South Central States, 9 o'clock. Florida, what time were you guys?
Florida's on 9:30 East Coast time. Yeah, we've got these multiple time zones, right? So we'll see you all same time, same channel next week.
Bye. Have a great day.
This is INCRadio DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.